Welcome back to Harbor. Almost exactly a year ago today, actually on Friday, October 7th, 2016, a slow Friday afternoon turned into one of the biggest news days of the 2016 election when the Washington Post published the now infamous Access Hollywood video of President Trump.
I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the...
Well, we got the drift. Let's bring in tonight's Hardball Roundtable. Libby Casey, a reporter for the Washington Post. Jason Johnson, politics editor at The Root and an MSNBC political contributor. And David Corn with the Washington Bureau Chief for Mother Jones and also a contributor here. Libby, you're a woman.
I am.
Okay, so you're the only one on the table right now, so we got to go to you first to go to. Why didn't women just say, this guy is a pig?
I think there was an instant recoil, but I remember talking to some suburban Philadelphia voters a few days after this, after the debate. Remember, this was Friday. There was a Sunday night debate. Now President Trump got through that debate, and they'd already normalized it in their minds. I thought this would be a game changer.
Tell me what that word means.
Well, his team said it was locker room talk. They said this isn't a Sunday school teacher. We're not looking for that. We're looking for the leader of the free world. I remember in a question in the debate, he pivoted to ISIS from coming out of a question about this tape. And when I talked to these voters, these are Catholic, white, well-to-do, suburban Philadelphia voters. You know these people. And they said, I care about the Supreme Court. I'm a Catholic voter, and I hate Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And there was so much other news that weekend that just muddled the story.
Trumped it all. You know what I thought? When I heard that Reince Priebus called him up and said, you got to jump out. You got to get out of the race.
Right.
That's how serious he's an old-style politician.
Well, he's a decent man.
Get out of the race. Yeah, you're an awful person. You shouldn't be running for president.
This is what I experienced with Ohio voters that I talked to at the time. It's kind of like if there's like offensive music at a club, right? And women listen to music that sometimes says bad things about women. Yeah. And if you ask them, how can you dance to this? They're like, well, he's not talking about me. A lot of the women who I spoke to are like, well, he's talking about the kind of women that throw themselves at men like Donald Trump. That's not me. I'm a decent, upstanding woman. He's not talking about women like me. I don't feel affected by this.
That's brilliantly discriminatory.
Yeah.
It keeps you off the hook. In other words, I can vote for this guy.
Exactly, because it's not me.
Well, people wanted to vote. The people who did vote for him, again, a minority of the population, wanted to vote for him. They knew that he was a jerk. His misogyny was already well known. The fact that he had screwed contractors and that he was not very
How about not paying
loyal
your
to
bills?
the truth.
That would bother most people.
Not very loyal to the truth.
So why did they
Because they thought he was echoing their resentment, their anger. They don't want to be, have to behave normally. Sometimes they want to say things that are unacceptable. He got away with it. There was a lot of that. And so these are people who want to vote for him. So when this happens, they spend a few days recoiling. That's a good word. But it's happened again and again and again throughout the campaign. Okay. Every time he did something that seemed to be unacceptable, his numbers dropped. But within 3, 4, 5 days, those Republican voters started coming back to him gradually.
I lived like David. We lived through Watergate, and we realized that the little thing that nobody likes to admit about Watergate, it had no impact on the election. Right. And we knew all about it. Walter Cronkite was all over it. The CBS team was all over it that year, and nobody cared. They didn't want McGovern. He had a squeaky voice. They didn't think he was the right guy, too far left. Nixon was fine. He went to Russia, went to China, and they ignored it. Now, I'm looking at the thing. The same day that this Access Hollywood thing happened, it wasn't the only big news that day that broke on that day, on that Friday. Around 3:30 that day, the U.S. Intelligence Committee announced that they were confident that the Russian government directed the recent compromises of emails from U.S. persons and institutions, including from U.S. political organizations. So they knew it. They knew it then. That Access Hollywood tape was released shortly after 4 o'clock. At 4:30, WikiLeaks released the Clinton campaign chair John Podesta's emails went out. We now know that Russia was responsible for that hack as well. So all that stuff that had real historic information in it didn't have much impact either, apparently.
Well, my colleagues at the Washington Post have called that Russian interference the crime of the century in terms of political crimes, and it just got buried. And the intelligence community was
the people heard it.
Devastated by it. But there was so much else noise because that tape was so electric and so shocking in its nature that is what people took away. But I have to say, those same Philadelphia voters, when they heard this Podesta leaks, email, Hillary, what they took away from that was Hillary Clinton emails. They weren't listening to...
Yeah, because it reverberated. It was another reference to Hillary's email.
That's the amazing thing.
And that's all that matters.
The amazing thing about that day was those 3 big stories. The president admitting to being a criminal, not just being a cad, but being a criminal.
Because of what he said about...
Because of what he said, grabbing women by their private parts. And then a foreign adversary Secretary. For the first time, the government saying they're messing with our election. And what has the impact on the final outcome? The Podesta emails, 60,000, not a single one of them was truly scandalous. There was interesting political, juicy gossip stuff, but nothing about breaking the law.
No, there's
nothing,
Catholic stuff in there.
Well, yeah, one or two people not connected to the campaign saying things. So that at the end of the day, because of this connection, it reinforced the idea of Hillary Clinton and emails being shifty. That had the impact.
Everything you say is what I heard from my brother. He said when he went out to vote, and he voted for one of my brothers. I would say which one he voted for Hillary, as I did. Big surprise. He called me at 8:30 that morning and said, I've never seen so many people with walkers at the voting station. Older people had gotten up in their old age, going out, they were all pro-life Catholics, had worked their way out to get out there. And that thing he said to me about women must be punished for abortion, that probably helped him with these people. As much as we all thought it was outrageous to punish somebody, it sent the message.
I think in a lot of respects, and for your average voter also as well, it was almost like in football. It's like almost like offsetting penalties. Like if you hated Trump, you're like, aha, see, this is the evidence that you yelled at your brother and your cousin. And if you hated Hillary, it's like, oh, here we go, more emails. At the end of the day, I still think that it was all pretty much trending towards Hillary Clinton until the Comey letter. And I think that weekend ended up being a wash because both of those things reinforce exactly what a polarized electorate already felt.
But the Comey letter was important because it came after 4 weeks of Hillary Clinton email. And if you talk to the pollsters, and they did focus groups during this time, the voters, particularly independent voters in swing states, thought that all this Podesta email stuff, rather than Clinton being the victim, was about her email server controversy. Right. So that set up the perfect teeing up for a
as I said, Watergate didn't happen during the campaign. It all was an afterglow. It all came in as an aftermath of what happened. The fallout was much more dangerous than anything that happened in the campaign. And we still don't know whether Mueller's case, when he presents it with that briefcase he carries around with him, if that's heavier than anything that happened in the campaign. And it could well be. The Roundtable's sticking with us. Enough next. These three will tell me something. In fact, they're going to give me some scoops. Let's raise the bar this week.